This is an excerpt from Answers to Prayer by George Mueller. The north wind changed into a south wind. It was towards the end of November of 1857 when I was most unexpectedly informed that the boiler of our heating apparatus at No. 1 leaked very considerably, so that it was impossible to go through the winter with such a leak. Our heating apparatus consists of a large cylinder boiler, inside of which the fire is kept, and with which boiler the water pipes that warm the rooms are connected. Hot air is also connected with this apparatus. The boiler had been considered suited for the work of the winter. To suspect that it was worn out, and not do anything towards replacing it by a new one, and to have said, "I will trust in God" regarding it, would be careless presumption, but not faith in God. It would be the counterfeit of faith. The boiler is entirely surrounded by brickwork. Its state, therefore, could not be known without taking down the brickwork. This, if needless, would be rather injurious to the boiler than otherwise, and as for 8 winters we had had no difficulty in this way, we had not anticipated it now. But suddenly and most unexpectedly at the commencement of the winter this difficulty occurred. What then was to be done? For the children, especially the younger infants, I felt deeply concerned that they might not suffer through want of warmth. But how were we to obtain warmth? The introduction of a new boiler would, in all probability, take many weeks. The repairing of the boiler was a questionable matter on account of the greatness of the leak, but, if not, nothing could be said of it till the brick chamber in which it is enclosed was, at least, in part removed. But that would, at least as far as we could judge, take days, and what was to be done in the meantime to find warm rooms for 300 children? It naturally occurred to me to introduce temporary gas stoves, but on further weighing the matter, it was found that we should be unable to heat our very large rooms with gas, except we had mini stoves, which we could not introduce, as we had not a sufficient quantity of gas to spare from our lighting apparatus. Moreover, for each of these stoves we needed a small chimney to carry off the impure air. This mode of heating, therefore, though applicable to a hall, a staircase, or a shop, would not suit our purpose. I also thought of the temporary introduction of the Arnott stoves, but they would have been unsuitable, requiring long chimneys, as they would have been of the temporary kind, to go out of the windows. On this account, the uncertainty of their answering in our case, and the disfigurement of the rooms, led me to give up this plan also. But what was to be done? Gladly would I have paid £100 if thereby the difficulty could have been overcome, and the children not be exposed to suffer for many days from being in cold rooms. At last I determined on falling entirely into the hands of God, who is very merciful and of tender compassion, and I decided on having the brick chamber opened to see the extent of the damage and whether the boiler might be repaired so as to carry us through the winter. The day was fixed when the workmen were to come, and all the necessary arrangements were made. The fire, of course, had to be let out while the repairs were going on. But now see. After the day was fixed for the repairs, a bleak north wind set in. It began to blow either Thursday or Friday before the Wednesday afternoon when the fire was to be let out. Now came the first really cold weather, which we had had in the beginning of that winter, during the first days of December. What was to be done? The repairs could not be put off. I now asked the Lord for 2 things. 1, that he would be pleased to change the north wind into a south wind, and that he would give to the workmen a mind to work. For I remembered how much Nehemiah accomplished in 52 days whilst building the walls of Jerusalem, because the people had a mind to work. Well, the memorable day came. The evening before, the bleak north wind blew still, but on the Wednesday the south wind blew, exactly as I had prayed. The weather was so mild that no fire was needed. The brickwork is removed. The leak is found out very soon. The boiler makers begin to repair in good earnest. About 8:30 in the evening, when I was going home, I was informed at the lodge that the acting principal of the firm, whence the boiler makers came, had arrived to see how the work was going on, and whether he could in any way speed the matter. I went immediately, therefore, into the cellar to see him with the men to seek to expedite the business. In speaking to the principal of this, he said in their hearing, "The men will work late this evening and come very early again tomorrow." "We would rather, sir," said the leader, "work all night." Then remembered I the second part of my prayer, that God would give the men a mind to work. Thus it was. By the morning the repair was accomplished. The leak was stopped. though with great difficulty, and within about 30 hours the brickwork was up again, and the fire in the boiler. And all the time the south wind blew so mildly that there was not the least need of a fire. Here then is one of our difficulties, which was overcome by prayer and faith.